Thumbelina. Once there was a woman who dearly wished for a child. Time passed, but no child came. So the woman sought help from an old witch. The witch gave her a magical barley grain, which grew into a lovely tulip. When the flower opened, there sat a tiny little girl. She was named Thumbelina, as she was no taller than a thumb. She was given a walnut shell for a cradle, with roses and violets for a pillow and blanket. The woman gave Thumbelina a bowl of water and a tulip leaf as a boat. But one day, a nasty toad crawled in through the window and kidnapped Thumbelina. The toad wanted Thumbelina to marry her ugly and terrible son, so she took Thumbelina home to a pond and trapped her on a water lily leaf. But the small fish in the pond gnawed through the water lily's stem to free Thumbelina. She sailed down the river until a white and neat butterfly landed on her leaf. Thumbelina tied her scarf to the butterfly and sailed much faster, but a disgusting beetle flew down and took Thumbelina to its home high up in a tree. The other beetles came to stare at her. They laughed and said she was ugly because she only had 2 legs and no antennae. They left her on a daisy, and there she sat alone all summer. When winter came, the birds flew away, and she nearly froze to death, only wrapped in a withered leaf. Finally, a kind field mouse took her inside. The mouse offered Thumbelina shelter if she would tell stories. The field mouse's neighbor, a mole in black velvet fur, came to visit. He fell in love with Thumbelina. The mole invited her to his dark tunnels underground, where she found a dying swallow. Thumbelina took the bird home, warmed it, and nursed it back to health. When spring arrived and the swallow regained its strength, it offered to take Thumbelina on its back. Thumbelina didn't want to upset the field mouse, so she chose to stay with it. Thumbelina sadly said goodbye to the swallow, and it flew high above the treetops. The mole wanted to marry Thumbelina, so the field mouse hired 4 spiders to make her wedding dress. When autumn arrived, they were ready, and the field mouse told Thumbelina that the wedding was now to take place. The tiny little girl cried because she did not want to live underground. "Goodbye," she said to the sun and the flowers. Thumbelina thought she'd never see them again, for the mole hated the sunshine. Tweet, tweet sounded at that moment. It was her friend, the swallow. It offered to take her to warm lands for the winter. She flew on the swallow's back to a sunny land with fruit trees and colorful butterflies in abundance. There, inside a large white flower, she found a tiny little man wearing a gold crown. He was the angel of the flower. He was beautiful and kind, and he immediately fell in love with Thumbelina. He proposed to her and placed the gold crown on her head. "You shall be called Maya," he told her, "for Thumbelina is so ugly and you are so beautiful." For the wedding, she received a pair of silver wings from a fly so she could fly from flower to flower. The swallow was sad to say goodbye to the happy couple, for it was very fond of Thumbelina. So it flew over the whole world and told the tale of Thumbelina.